When you look at the current global situation, there's a lot of instability in the international order. And the fundamental question being discussed in Davos is this instability going to continue or will it kind of settle down? Where does the global order goes as we look at next 5 to 10 years itself? So that's a debate discussion happening in Davos today. And it's interesting because we do have President Trump coming in Wednesday, and he's going to address the audience that time. But the fundamental question is where does the world go in the current turmoil?
Do you think that the current turmoil because of U.S. tariffs, or there are certain other decisions taken by Mr. Trump?
Well, it's not just about U.S. tariff. Tariff is a tool. When you look at what's happening in Greenland, what happens in Venezuela, what's happening in Iran, what's happening in Nepal, for example, or Bangladesh, we are seeing, with or without U.S., a sense of instability. And I think the current systems does not seem to be working. The youth are asking for jobs. What's happening in Nepal, for example. So I think it's important to address those issues when we meet as global leaders.
Do you think that the current crisis will continue for long, or do you think that there are some chances that it will be over soon?
It is hard to predict because when you have crises, countries will try to take advantage of the crisis, the stronger ones upon the weaker ones. And we are seeing that happening. And at the same time, in a change in crisis, some countries will go at the lower level of the basically table itself, others will rise. And I think that's why it is an opportunity for India to rise when you look at the current turmoil.
You talked about Venezuela crisis, Greenland crisis. Do you think that other developed nations other than the US, like the European Union or India or China, how they are reacting, and do you think that any kind of solutions coming soon?
Well, if you look at what's happening in Greenland, the Europeans are debating, should we confront or talk and find a solution to that? So that decision is happening at the moment. And I think the President Trump's ambition to take over Greenland is quite serious itself. Now, when you look at India has come out and said, listen, we need to have more conversation. This is not the era of wars, era of conversation itself. So I think from that perspective, India is playing a very, very constructive role. China, we are seeing them, but we're not seeing them. We see them because they have exports have gone up. The trade surplus is almost $1.2 trillion last year itself. So China's are focused more on trying to drive the business aspect of the global order itself. So I think from that perspective, India can play a very critical role.
But China used to import a lot of crude from Venezuela. How do you see this after US taking Venezuela? This situation will change. How will China react?
Well, it does put pressure on China because the Venezuelan crude coming down will get less, but then they'll go after Russian crude and basically fulfill their need itself. So from that perspective, we feel that China's import of energy will switch from Venezuela to more to Russian or Iranian crude.
But Trump has also said that any country who will import from Iran crude, they will impose 500% tariff. Do you see that, how that will be going to impact the geopolitics?
Well, the Lindsey Graham law, which is going to be put, it is long way to becoming passed by the Congress. It has to go through the Senate and then through the House itself. So it will take some time. But at the same time, China has the leverage over U.S. U.S. can't dictate to China that you can buy from here, you cannot. U.S. does have the leverage over India. So that's how it's been able to dictate. And basically, if you look at India is importing Russian oil, China is, but India is paying 25% extra tariff on Russian oil because of the leverage.
Now coming back to the US-India relation, the trade DPA is not signed yet. Both the government are coming out with a different kind of statement. Do you see that going to be BTA between US and India with the current situation is going to be signed soon?
Well, it's a complex environment. And I think both countries are talking to find a way to take the trade discussion forward. But I have to remind that the relationship between India and the US is not just about trade. It's much more broader. It's on people to people, it's on technology, it's on business investment between the two countries. So obviously trade is one aspect, but I think if we can sort it out, it's going to get much more smooth.
But US is raising issues of Russian crude import with India. They are not raising the similar thing with China or any other country who are import like Turkey. So how do you see this? Why US is putting? We have a very good relationship with why and when do you think these things is going to change?
Well, you have to understand in relation between nations are defined by interest, not by love for each other or friendship. And whereas with India, US has a leverage, so it's kind of driving the leverage itself.
But do you expect that BTA will be things are coming soon? Because indications have been given by the new US ambassador that talks are going on. Even our PM is saying, ministry is saying that talks are going on. Any breakthrough soon?
I believe that you will see some kind of a solution coming in because you can't maintain the current status quo having no agreement. It harms India's exports, but doesn't impact the US exports to India. So we will find a solution. It may take 3 months to wrap it up, but we will find a solution.
If I ask you about India-EU trade agreement, it is said that it will be signed soon, maybe before the EU head will come to India in January.
So what I'm hearing is that the EU heads are coming for this 26th Republic Day parade, and then after that they will sign the agreement. I think that will be a good win for India and good win for EU also.
But do you think that India should look for other markets other than they are already looking? But this UPK they have signed with Oman, they have signed with UK, EU they are signing, Australia they are signing. So India should, if the export with US trade relation with US destabilizes, India should expand in other markets.
No, absolutely. I think India should look at every market they can, because if India's economy has to grow 8% annually, its export also has to grow obviously twice the speed itself. And so India look at countries where it can send its exports, have a good FTA with those countries. It will be a win for everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thanks.